Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Let's have a roll call.
Tammy Bowman.
Craig Campbell.
George Harris.
Ted Julian.
Sandy Butler.
I'll pass.
Okay, we do have a quorum. And has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
I have read the minutes, but I've got a question. Let me get back to it.
Hmm.
At some time, and I'm not finding it in here, and I think Hannah Rose can help me with this. On that last one, we talked about the yellow house and where we,
31st.
oh, what?
On the 31st.
On the 31st. Oh, that's the meeting. Okay. And in it, we, at some point in time, we voted that in, what we wanted done. But she went ahead and put the vinyl windows in and we didn't realize that. So there was a little bit of if we approved it and then she had to go back and redo it, then it would be at our cost.
Correct.
Okay, where is that in the minutes at?
I do not know. I don't do the minutes. So
Okay, that was my only question, that needs to be in there.
Yeah.
Because it was something they come up down the road.
Jeff, do we need to like vote to amend the minutes from October 31st to say that?
Yeah, so someone could amend them during our discussion, and then a motion could be made to accept the minutes as amended.
And I think Jeff agreed to that last time too. So you, both of you said agreement to that. So you talked about it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, so we can,
So do you want to table that till next meeting or?
they can amend it right now, can't they?
Certainly.
Yeah, so you can amend it to have the revision of adding that language to the October 31st meeting minutes. And then approve them.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to amend.
Yes.
All right.
well, I make a motion to amend that we add the following verbiage from Hannah Rose and Jeff attorney that I want to make sure I say this right. Craig, are you listening to what I'm saying?
I am.
You wanna help me say that? It's like we were at fault, really.
Mhm.
And so if we had her change that, then the town would have to pay for that. Is that, okay, that's,
Yes.
right. Is that correct? Right, okay. So I'm in that.
All right. So we have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, great.
That was the only thing I saw that didn't be in there.
Okay.
Thank you, Craig.
So then you'll vote to approve the minutes from the previous meetings as amended.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes as written, as amended, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? All right, we're good. Okay, old business.
All right, so we have some signage COAs for the gas station next door. The whole application is in the G drive if you want to just take a look at the specific layouts for each of these. Looks like we've got 3 signs on the gas canopy, 1 on the building itself, and then there will be a new gas price sign as well. So, yeah, I think it looks really, really good.
Yeah.
They all fit into the requirements of the UDO for signage size, the type, and then also any ground signs need landscaping. This is a bit of a difficult area because is it gas pipes are behind it, the exhaust?
Yeah, you can see the second photo,
Mhm.
the vents for the gas tanks are there, so I can't do anything with those. And same second photo, you can see in the bottom left corner, that's where one of the fuel fill-up is.
Right.
So the actual fuel tanks are just off to the side of that foundation, so I can't move the foundation because of that issue.
Right. So this is technically a post sign, but it's wrapped to look like a monument sign. That's not really structural in any way, shape, or form, but that's what's gonna hold the landscaping. It's kind of the best that can be done in that section or that area, because there's not much to work with and the infrastructure is underneath it.
This will replace the entire tall sign.
Yep, tall sign will come down, we'll cut it off 2-ish feet so that it will on basically.
And is there more land, the rocks in front of that, right? As it's coming back, extending back toward here, there's that old concrete lamp post. Is it still gonna be laying there? It's still there?
I don't know of a lamp post there. If there is, we can remove it.
Just from a landscaping standpoint, I just wondered if you're gonna landscape it, if you're
I
gonna.
think
Yeah, as
that's
far as
all right,
landscaping for the sign, it was just the brick around it and then the low growth greenery
Mhm.
on top.
Mhm.
I do like the idea of a big sign coming in.
We're all jazzed on that. So as far as just analysis, it's kind of just exactly what I said. Fits the size requirements. It is internally illuminated, but this isn't a historic building and it's a gas station, so probably should have some illumination. Doesn't pose a threat to public health and safety either.
How tall is that?
This-
Is it a traffic visual issue coming south on Broadway? Seeing
As far
traffic,
as line of sight,
line of sight?
no, there's plenty of room
Okay.
where the sidewalk is and that landscaping that's in
Okay,
our right of
okay.
way, so.
To the corner, there's approximately 50 to 60 feet
Okay,
street corner.
Any questions on those?
Everybody had a chance to look through this? Looks good. No? Looks good to me too. We have a motion to accept.
I will take a motion to accept
I'll second.
as presented.
Ted second.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
when does the work start?
At this point, we'll start ordering materials, so it'll be probably 6-8 weeks
Hmm.
to completion.
Did you have a concern, Tammy?
No, it's fine.
Okay, all right. Great, so approved.
Yeah,
All right.
asphalt looks good too.
That wasn't me, but they did a good job.
All right, new business?
All right. First on the new business is a facade rehab and signage for the stable. So currently restaurant bar, I did some digging into our stacks upstairs and I found some Sanborn maps and some old photos. Used to be a restaurant. It also used to be an auto sales supply. I've never seen any pictures from the street of that though. So the applicant is looking to, as you'll see on the second slide here, do a full facade rehab, complete with like a gray wash brick, some faux arches over the second story, new doors, new windows, siding on either of those, and then new sign and lighting for the sign. So, here are some examples of what Steve sent me for the awning, as well as the garage door style, which would go right here next to the front door. This was to kind of open that space a little bit more for both indoor, outdoor seating, make it a little less cramped in there, as well as kind of paying tribute to that old use of auto parts and sales store. The glass shop next door was also a part of that auto conglomerate, but again, I've never found a photo of what those looked like. The Sanborn map is from 1914, so that might be why.
Are those garage doors on both sides of the front door?
Yes, they'll be on.
So that's to open up to an outdoor seating.
Yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
Sophie's Bagels,
Yeah.
something
okay.
similar to that, but a smaller scale. And then a bricked in double arches up top. And then right in the middle there, you see the sign. I already told Steve we might want to have that lowered because I know we typically don't allow anchorage above the second story. But
Mhm.
this building's like a 1.5, so it's a little bit odd. But I mean, I think mostly just the COA is for the sign itself there. It's just a projecting sign. As far as where it's anchored, we can take a look at that.
So the brick under the arch is gonna be a subway style. Is it gonna be a different color? Or,
Steve,
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, the subway style brick under the arches on those two panels up above, is that gonna be a different color or different shade of brick?
I think it'll just be a different angle. It'll be the same brick, but a different
Okay.
angle there.
Sorry, that's my wife Missy too.
Hello.
I've got,
And what we also wanted to reach, just tell the board is the stable's been in town since 2010, and obviously we've been in our new location since 2016, 2014, and this is a total commitment to the town of Pendleton. I mean, not only are we wanting to redo the facade, but we're doing a total remodel on the inside also.
So just as far as staff analysis, the materials used are consistent with a historic downtown, even though this building historically, from what I found, has never been brick. The 1914 auto-related use, like I said, the sliding garage doors could somewhat pay homage to that.
I was gonna ask, was there any signage that pays homage to that as well from a,
No, I can't, the only thing I can find that
Influence?
says when and what that was is in a Sanborn map, and those are super basic. So kind of the only concern from my office is that the Specs Restaurant, I don't know what year that this photo was taken, but it does have those existing transoms. So if those could be utilized along with some sort of sliding and or opening door, I think that might would keep it more intact as what it seems to be historically. I would say this is probably like 19, 20, 30s as far as what those guys are wearing. And again, this doesn't pose any sort of health or threat to public safety.
Looking at the Sanborn maps,
Mhm.
the auto return and auto sales, are two separate buildings.
Correct.
And so that structure is no longer there. This structure that's there now, replace that.
The auto repairing one, that big one is the glass shop. Right next door.
You may want to check the scale on this. That's doesn't look like that from this point.
Is this not the JT Chambers, the big building in the middle, the pink one?
There's some changes here in the building.
Okay,
You know, where you see Pendleton Ave, I'm guessing very to the right of that State Street. And so that part, let's say that is the JT Chambers. That shows a stairway going up in the right place. But I think if you scale this out, it doesn't work out. The auto sales and all of the repairing have anything to do with this. It's much narrower.
I thought that was the stable. That's how I
Well,
read it on the map.
The railroad should have shown up there and it's, you know, I see-
It's far to the west, or the east, excuse me.
Now, the railroad track. There's a 38 there coming across with an N on it. The railroad track, actually, the right of way for that actually cut off the corner of the building where the glass shop was.
Okay,
And seeing the way they redone that. Or the way the glass shop was redone over the years there. It looks like when it was redone at one time, it probably bumped out, and that's what created the issue a number of years ago with some people about they're on someone else's property. The corner was on, the building was actually on somebody else's property. The railroad isn't here. Sanborn maps would have that railroad in there, I believe.
I mean, if you zoom out, you see it, so, but I just zoomed way into this. So, I have it back there. We can take a look at it.
Once, I mean, you say this was what year?
1914.
14?
Bob, what does that have to do with the remodeling of the building? Is
Well,
there-
discussing having things based on something that we have no photographs of. And certainly appears to be totally different than what's there now. It appears to be a totally different building. That was the question.
Is this the building you're talking about? Specs?
Yeah, now this building, the Specs Restaurant. The upper windows going across are still there.
Right.
They're intact.
Right, but that's the
Not
building.
very long ago, they were flashed right, so they shouldn't have leaked anymore. That's my theory.
Did you do that?
Now, the two large windows are not perfect with the windows that are there now. So that if the gentlemen weren't standing there, if you're having a good meal, I'm sure, you'd be able to see what's down lower on the building and what's lower there appears to be pretty close to being correct.
So Specs Restaurant is not this red highlighted building.
Is that in here?
Yeah, here, I'll put it up here on the screen. So this red highlighted one here, isn't that Specs?
It's the same thing I'm showing you.
Mhm.
And that's how I read it, because the big pink one is JT Chambers and then Specs / the stable and then the glass shop at the very end there. With the outbuildings.
I have to question that because the railroad track shows up in every Sanborn map I've ever seen.
It's in there.
It's almost.
It's just super cropped.
It's cut off.
Yeah. I didn't want to show all of it because it was too overwhelming. But I can bring you that map. It's dusty and gross, but you are welcome to take a look at it.
And
yeah.
what does, Sanborn maps come out every year or two.
Mhm.
And IU has the largest archive of those, and so you can get on the website and look at up to 1930 or so.
Yeah.
And does this show up in any of the earlier Sanborn maps?
Well, I know it's not in 1898 or 1908 because we have those back there too. I believe it's in 14 and 18. And then I don't think we have any more. We have 25, might not be in that one. But I just went back to find the oldest I could find where it said auto parts.
It's interesting.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it just looks like it's awful narrow, but like I said, it'd be easy to scale it out and see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to get those back there for you. Were there any other concerns with this?
Is there any precedent where they've gone wood to brick
Yes.
historically, in some of the historic buildings?
That
Yes.
they would know better, yeah,
Yes.
than I would.
If the house was, if the building was originally wood, you do not go to brick.
Okay,
And the windows are still intact in that building, the transoms, so those need to stay intact too.
Mhm.
So those are my concerns right there. Of course, I like the garage door style, but not for Pinnacle. I think it needs to go back to the original.
I mean, it's pretty close to the original as it stands right now. It's got the transoms with the large bay storefront windows and the kickboards below it.
Well, I'm not seeing that. Is this what we're looking at, right? It looks,
It's pretty close to how it was at Specs. Let me
where's the
see if I-
transoms at? I must be on the wrong thing. Then. I'm not seeing any transom. I see them.
She's seeing what it is now.
Do you have a current photo? I think that's what Cindy would be looking for.
Not in here, no. Let me see. I don't think I can access my server from here.
But on this building, it's brick, which it needs to be wood. As far as preserving our historic buildings, it needs to look like a historic building. It's there, we just have to pull it out. The glass from my photo here, it's going all the way down to the sidewalk. And actually, if you look at the above photograph in between the guy's legs there, you can see that it's that there is some type of wall there.
Yeah, there's like a kick plate below it or bulkhead or whatever you want to call it. So I don't think that the windows don't go down to the sidewalk, but
No, they don't.
there's a decorative type of kickboard there.
Hannah, were you able to give them a copy of the secretary? I sent that to you,
It comes with all of our applications now
Okay.
when they apply online.
okay,
The provisions are right on there.
okay, well, they need to look at that. I mean, to look at that, get an idea of what we're talking about.
Okay.
And I'm just one of 5, 6, so that's my thought on it.
Any other concerns?
I'm just trying to weigh historic preservation versus progress. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I think that would be nice.
It's beautiful.
But our,
And can it look like a historic building? It may not look exactly like what it was, but can it look like an historic building? I think that's two different questions. Does it have to look exactly like the building was, or does it need to look like a historic building? What's our,
if it's already there, if the windows are already there, then you do not remove them. And they're there.
Crooked windows?
Say that again. Could you repeat that? We couldn't hear what
Oh,
you were saying.
yes, I'm sorry. I said if the windows are there, then we need to replace them with the same type of windows.
Could you preserve the windows and
So
view?
see, they're already up there as they sit right now and the kick plate.
Yeah. this is-
And why are we saying that they need to stay the same?
Yes, that is correct. We're on the National Register of Historic Places. And so windows, when we're talking about windows, we need to replace them the same size and the same style. And this is an old building.
Yeah, what I'd like the board to understand, I understand the historic part of it, but sooner or later, I mean, it's 100-year-old building. And we have to eventually upgrade and modernize it.
And my concern is the windows, it's very drafty by the windows.
And those can be replaced with windows that are similar to that. You're talking to a person that restored a 135-year-old home. So things can be modernized, but modernized with preservation in mind.
I mean, the facade it has right now, I would say probably most mirrors how it was when it was Specs Restaurant. I don't know what year this is from, but it's probably at least 100 years ago.
Steve and
Minnesota?
Missy, if
Yep.
we were to allow the garage doors to go in, can the garage doors fit below the current windows, the upper windows, the transom windows? Can they stay?
The transit windows,
Yes.
that's a question for our contractor who's there, Chad Lukens. Chad, can we do the garage door windows and keep the transit windows there?
Well, the question would be the awning component that we're proposing. You have to allow space for that and flashing and things of that nature. So that would be the trick question. Yes, you could surely order a shorter door. Right now, that center door, the service door is probably an 80-inch tall door. And it looks like the windows are somewhere about a foot taller than that. So you're talking 92 inches tall, roughly where the top of that picture glass pane window is.
Could the awning go
A
on
9x7
the
door,
transoms?
you put a 9x7 in there?
Well, yeah, the 7 foot would be that's a nominal size for height purposes. The 9 foot width, that we don't have 9 foot there. That building's only 16 foot width. I think there could be something worked out there. It's just, trying to find a compromise between bringing this building up to date, making it a little more energy efficient, but yet at the same time, appeasing the board when it comes to the historic properties. So,
Was the purpose of those garage doors to have easy access to be able to walk out smoothly onto the sidewalk or whatever areas?
well, that's part of it. I think the other part of it is you see the seating area, they have, you know, it's kind of temporary seating is just to kind of make it just make it easier, so you're not creating pinch points within a small building, and you're trying to get food in and out, and you're trying to turn over, if you will, tables, you've got to look at efficiencies, and that's one of the ways to do that, is to kind of open that up.
Well, I've seen restaurants where they have those types of doors, but they're above, say, an eating area.
Sure.
Where you would have the kind of almost a bar type situation. And I didn't know if that would be a better fit in a situation like that. And even us, you know, rather than having windows that roll, or, you know, like the garage style windows rolls up, if something were to be able to recess, that was like a complete pane, it would be able to recess back rather than having it in sections the way it's depicted here.
And I know Steve, I had talked with you a while ago about that possibility of, you know, if garage doors weren't the thing, having either an accordion style window or a solid pane window that kind of came up like a garage door, and that could become a, you know, a communal bar space or seating space where like a table would kind of snap up and where the window pane is, or the windowsill is.
Yeah,
So-
and that's why that's why I included that picture. If you can go back
Yeah.
of the other design.
It's that green facade
Right.
Yeah.
right there on the left.
Over there on the left up there.
Yeah, this one. So I mean, there's a possibility that could be a solid pane window that flips
There it is,
in or out,
right there.
and then that could be an open kind of table space using the sill, maybe the tip plate.
Yeah, and the reason why we would like, it's a very small building,
Yeah.
you know, all of us have been in that building, and we're just trying to incorporate the outside into the inside, vice versa. Just to incorporate the vibe of being outdoors when the weather's nice.
I do want to mention one thing, that building is contributing to our national register. So that's the importance of it, that we shouldn't alter the outside of it. We can improve it, but it needs to go back to what it was. Right, the transits need to stay. There needs to be wood siding. I don't know of any brick that color that's historically correct. So that's my.
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear what Sandy had to say.
I'm saying that this building contributes to our national register. That's why the importance of it to maintain its the facade as much as possible. The transits need to stay. The brick is not with the building. It needs to go back to wood. It just need to maintain what's there, Steve. That's what they do with the preservation.
I think it is wood right now, correct? The siding that's on the front.
It's cement board.
It's
The top is cement.
okay, the top, yeah.
Yeah, what I don't quite understand is how anybody could complain about putting brick on the facade. I mean, we're trying to upgrade from wood, maintenance wise also. I think brick looks a lot better than the wood. I'm willing to compromise on the garage doors with windows that can come up and down. But I don't quite understand not being able to put brick there.
Preservation is to retain the original fabric of a building, whether it's current or the highest fabric available isn't the question. It's the original fabric. So if you refer to the guidelines that were provided in your packet, guidelines for preservation are to retain wood where there's wood, stone or brick where there's stone or brick. So that's where that comes from. That's not just a personal preference.
And if at some point we had photographic evidence or we knew that building was brick at some point.
It
and
was
someone
not
put-
brick at some point because
Yeah.
the Sanborn map shows it's a wood building. That's
Yeah,
what
no, I know
yellow
what I'm saying,
means
though, like,
in
if-
Sanborn.
If it were to be covered up at one point and the original actually was brick, this would be more appropriate.
Right. If it were
Correct.
pink on the Sanborn map, that would have told you that it was once brick or
Right.
stone.
Right.
But it never was. And so to make it that now is not preservation. And this is a preservation commission. So that's the filter we're looking at it through. It's not a style or a, contractor or masonry versus wood filter. It's a preservation filter.
Have we found any buildings that we've uncovered where it's had, siding thrown up and then there's brick underneath it that's in relatively good shape? Or like the stucco buildings we have, those probably don't have brick underneath.
Those have brick underneath them.
Right, but they were originally brick.
Right.
They just got covered.
Stucco, what, in the 60s?
Right.
Right.
So Steve, I think that might be the difference here is that since this building was always historically wood, putting brick on it takes away from the historic originality of it. If it were to be like, Dr. Lau's building that's covered in stucco, there's original brick under there. Removing that and replacing or repairing the brick that's there is more appropriate.
That's correct.
So, I think as far as the windows and the garage, door style openings go, I think we might have some leeway as far as opening those large bay windows in some way, shape or form to open that space.
If it can maintain the integrity of the wood facade, I think that would be a solution. Plus, I'm looking at this and seeing what looks to be beaded tongue groove up above. So if they
Oh,
want
on
to go
the-
back to that style on the original specs, yeah.
Yeah.
That looks like beaded tongue groove, and now we have lap siding.
I think it is, because I think that's what's on the glass shop, John told me. And
Right.
I think they're the same material.
Same material.
Correct.
So is it an option to try to take all this conversation and improve the look, upgrade it?
Yeah, we could continue
Include-
it and
include
come
the-
back with some new ideas. and
Include
how
the
about-
transom windows, the garage doors, but yet maintain some type of a wood facade versus brick?
Mhm.
Because I just, using the old term, I'd hate to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think it would be
Yeah.
really a great upgrade for downtown, honestly, if, Tammy's right, she's right on the money. This is what the committee's about, but I think it'd be great to find a way to all
To
work
merge it
together. and make-
together, yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to try to come to some compromise. I mean, if the wood has to stay, we'll upgrade it and do the wood. We'll leave out the brick. When we talked about, I thought brick was a good feature, but we can do away with the brick. We can upgrade the wood. If we can come up with a compromise with incorporating, the outside, inside with the windows.
That'd be great, I think.
I
Yeah.
think that's a good possibility, and I know one of our options is to continue this. And I would like to continue this, coming back with those changes in mind, referring to your packet with the highest standards for the National Standards Preservation Guidelines that were provided. Taking the facade close as you can to preserve that original material of wood and the windows and the overall design of the front, even noticing you've integrated a canopy element, and there is a canopy element in the original photo, but be mindful of how it's attached in the original and see if you can echo a little bit of that concept in the design that you come up with. Those would be my recommendations for when you come back.
And I
Yeah.
think. accordion
Go ahead.
The accordion windows that you're talking about, if they fit underneath the transom, I think that would be probably acceptable here
Yeah,
too.
something that either flips in or flips out, but is a solid pane style of that.
Is that possible to do something like that?
I think it is. I guess one question, I understand everything you guys are saying. And just two questions. One would be, if that building were to burn down, what is the board's stance on a rehab? Okay, that section is gone. What would happen? Like, what would your view be then? It's no longer there. Would it be,
The
have to be
same.
built back the same? Okay.
Same.
Okay. And then one other question would just be catty corner of the new bank building. That building's all masonry. I don't know what was on that
There
corner.
was, it
originally.
wasn't there.
It
Okay.
wasn't, it's
Yeah.
brand new.
So a new building is,
That building is real old. I think that building went in before we actually had the preservation commission
yeah, I
Yeah.
remember it being built. I mean, I've been around that long piece, so,
a long time ago.
probably the bank, the bank building across the street, probably 15 years ago,
This one?
would be a guess.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's about right.
Now, that was built before we had the preservation commission.
Okay.
Notice as you look at this entire streetscape, that there are lots of things that are upgrades that were done over time. The building next to yours, next to the stable, those were upgrades. That roof, those windows.
Sure.
You know, all of that, and the stucco down the block, all of those were things that were designed to improve the condition of the buildings, but a preservation view is a different view than that.
No, I understand. And then I guess last question for me is around the corner here, we've got a new build, well, it's an old building that's been painted white. Is that,
I'm
did
sorry,
that fall
that-
underneath?
Which one is
the-
it?
Just around the corner here.
Yeah, you're talking about the.
Oh, the A.B. Taylor.
A.B.
Oh,
building?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That building was previously painted as well, so the paint
Okay,
was there to begin with.
But we don't
And-
want our paint anyway. We
so
don't-
that
We
going,
don't monitor paint
No.
color.
okay.
You can paint a pink if you want to. Wouldn't make people happy.
If somebody wanted, if they wanted to remove the paint,
But-
that would be fine with us, to take it back to the original structure.
Sure.
At some point, those windows had been closed in,
Right.
Mhm.
and now the latest improvement is to replace them, that they go
Yeah.
into the
Oh, right,
original
sure.
fenestration of the building, and same with the lower portions of the canopy and the structures.
Correct, yeah. It's almost.
So it's another case of taking improvements out to make it more like the original fabric. Where it's existing.
I believe that John's talking about doing the same thing to the space next to the wine stable, where you can see the windows that were originally there. He's going back to those windows, he's going back to the door opening that shows up when you drive by, you can see that now.
So if there's no more questions or concerns, we can move to table. Steve, or Missy, if there's anything else, any final comments, I think we'll move to continue, it sounds like.
Yeah, we'll come up with a new plan to try to get this figured out. What I'd like to remind the board is we are closing December 30th for this remodel, which is going to take 5 months. And, 4 to 5 months. And that, as a business, that everyone knows that's tough to be shut down for that long of a time. So I would request that if we could come up with a better option, that maybe the board could have a special meeting to look at our corrections.
I do that for you.
Yep.
Yeah, once you're ready to go, if you can give us a couple days notice, I think that's all we need legally. And then we can definitely hold a special meeting if you're ready before the next, the January meeting.
Yep, we'll sit down with our partner and our contractor and we'll get this knocked out by next week.
Okay, and if you've got any questions, you can call Denise or myself, and we're happy to help.
Thank you all.
Okay, motion to table,
Or continue.
motion to continue, sorry.
Make a motion to continue it.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Done. Okay,
Next one we've got is Glass Shop. So. Thank
all right,
you.
thank you very much.
What is the price on this building?
I know.
Mm,
Absolutely. So this is the original Hayden's Grocery Store sign. It's still intact. The Easy Bake Flour sign on the side of it, though, unfortunately, it's had some windows run through it, so it's pretty much beyond salvaging at this
Right.
point. There's not much of it left. The storefront windows are still existing, the original front frames. So I got a few pictures here. I don't know the years. In that Specs Restaurant picture, you can see the 1/1 big windows there. You can see the materials. The top one has got the original signage mural. And then this other picture down here in red, you can just barely see it, but you can see the two big bay windows, a little bit of transom above the door, I think, a retractable awning, and then the sign up there. So we went over and took some pictures not too long ago. As you can see, the signs are in really good shape.
Yeah.
The wood is in relatively good shape. John called me today and said that there's a few warped pieces, there's a few rotted pieces, but for the most part, the original wood siding is in pretty good condition. So and you can see he removed the mansard, and there's like, some of this is inside too. I don't know what it says, or if when they built this mansard roof, they just used pieces of an old billboard sign somewhere.
It looks like it, yeah.
It's really weird. It's inside too. I don't know what it is, but regardless, that's all off now. So what he'd like to do is, you can see this rendering here. He'd like to square out the roof using some of the old wood where those windows on the east side, where he'd like to put those as much as possible, if there's any salvageable wood, to fill in that roof line and square it out. Also restore the storefront windows, the large, like I said, 1/1 bay windows, and then the doorway with the little transom up top there. But really what he'd like to do most is extend that cream batten board, or band board, excuse me, and open up the dead side here with some windows. He also needs to put in a new footer, an exterior wall.
Mhm.
It's missing. So
It's gone.
it's not in great shape. Are you here for him? Okay, so if I'm saying any of this wrong, please let me know. And then retain and repair the original mural signage. I had talked to him about this. He'd like to leave it as it is right now. But once a business gets in there, unless they're called Hayden's, it might throw people off a little. So I had suggested that we might be able to, as a board, with some of the monies that's in our bank account, have that removed and repaired and either placed inside of the building or placed somewhere else in town, or maybe in the museum, something like that. Because it isn't exactly practical to have that on there. If you have another business that goes in, it might be very confusing. But
Yeah.
that's just kind of something I thought of. Maybe there's another solution.
I like the idea of putting it inside the building, because a lot of old buildings, there's a place in Noblesville
Mhm.
that has original brick wall that they
Yeah.
did, kind of a mural of the former business was in there.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a great feature, because obviously any outdoor signage would point to whatever business it is.
Right.
So
What's
this
in there.
rendering is not what it's proposed to be, it's just an option of what it could be.
Yes,
Is that what you're
right,
saying?
yes,
Okay.
and I know he would like to have it be something that does have an outdoor patio space. So I almost kind of suggested that big sign could go on that back building back there.
Mhm.
Just,
Mhm.
it could, I think if it's removed, it could be restored and like not glued together, but in some way framed so that it's safe and it has a coating on it or a
Mhm.
frame of some sort.
Right.
And it would be protected in that way. So it could go inside, outside.
And can I ask,
Eventually.
can I ask the burning question then,
Sure.
is that we're talking that the whole building will be wood?
It'll, yeah, stay its
Yeah.
original.
Now, this siding I'm seeing here, that's.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily wood, but that's a rendering, but we're
That's a-
talking wood.
It's
yeah.
gonna stay its original way.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
not gonna put
That's-
in new
that's why I
wood.
asked that.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
yeah, this doesn't look beat up enough to be what's on there right now, but.
Can you tell
um,
me why change the roof line to be flattened out?
I think to just square it off to make it look more even. I'm not sure if the building next door has a slanted roof. I don't know if Steve's still on, but I think that
The
was
lines
why.
table and most buildings that have flat roofs.
Mhm.
On the streetscape side of the building, it's the high side.
Mhm.
And it slopes and then drains the back.
Okay. And that, I mean, we can, do you have any idea why?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that the reason that was flattened out to begin with is its mansard roof. Right.
Mhm.
Or the mansard, whatever that, yeah.
Yeah,
The monstrosity, yes.
The flattening out on the side.
and I don't know what's behind that underneath, if it's just some wood framing and some old signage up there.
If you look at the historic photograph,
Mhm.
it's to the left of the Specs restaurant.
Yeah, It does look a little slanted.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's certainly not much of a slant.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't look nearly as deep as this is.
That would have been a parapet wall, which is what is there now. And so the parapet wall sits above the roof.
Right, yeah.
The parapet wall can be level or slope back. That's not much slope, if there is slope to it, just judging it by the windows. and The building behind it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's something that I could talk about with him if, but the general concept, if that's something that we want to hold off on figuring out.
Why do they want to flatten it out? Do you know why they want to flatten it out?
I'm not sure. I know, I believe the intention is to move the Italian restaurant over there. So I don't know if they plan on having back there or what. I assume it's-
You know what the roof is now?
The roofing material,
Is it the old roll
it's
roofing?
the only aluminum foil roof that I've ever seen. It's very unusual, and it was put on when the Tankies Drug bought the building. I believe Chuck Clevenger might be aware of what that roof is. And I'm not sure that that slope section of the roof has any issues with it. That aluminum foil roof gets back to back, and it's a flat roof with rubber on it. It's a flat roof, with aluminum on it, and then some rubber patches on it, and then tar patches on top of that. Well, that section has to be leaking because it really looks rough. It's dead flat back in the back. There's not much slope. But whatever that aluminum foil product was, it held up very well for an awful long time.
I guess from a flat roof would be that they're gonna put a rubber roof on. Right. Many of these roofs, I've repaired several of the roofs in Pendleton way back, and they were in horrible shape. And it was just the roof coating after layer of roof coating.
Yeah,
After
that's
layer of
probably
roof
what-
coating,
Yeah.
and just try to stop leaks.
And I have no idea what's in that aluminum.
And my guess is you must put a rubber roof on it, which I would want to put a rubber roof on it too, keep it from leaking.
Yeah, the rubber roof is,
But you could put a rubber roof on the slope too. You don't have to square it off. If the slope is the original part of the building and you want to keep it, you can still put a rubber roof.
I don't think the roof is probably part of our concern.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's something where you want to revisit that, I think just getting the biggest part right now for him is to remove that section of the east wall, put in, what's it called? Footer, yeah, an exterior wall, and then get the front.
Oh, yeah.
I walked
It's
by
in-
there, kind of looked in the windows. and
I think it's.
I don't know what's holding it up, so that's an.
I don't
either.
Just-
Luck and good intentions,
It's the update pics.
So on the
Oh, I
street,
see.
Yeah,
the
update pics.
street side of this,
And once you get in there.
Yeah.
You just.
Is that-
scroll back and forth.
it looks like some sort of staggered material on there.
Yeah, that's just a rendering. It's gonna be all the original wood that's on it right now.
Mhm.
It'll just be rehabilitated and sanded, I'm sure painted at some point as well. Keep it all the original. Yeah.
The only other thing from the rendering that I'm noticing is that the front door looks flat to the front of the facade. And it's probably known by now with this much discovery on the building, was the doorway inset?
From what I
previously,
can
and will
tell,
it be again?
no. From what I can tell, so if you see in the Hayden's, this really old one, it's not inset. The other one where it specifically says Hayden's here, it's flush with the front. And then in this one, we can't tell because it only shows the left window.
Okay.
But
It
as
doesn't
far as
look
I
like
can
it's
tell now,
recessed. No.
and I think, the Specs restaurant was also not recessed, so, and those are two wood buildings that look very similar, so I don't believe it ever was.
There had been a photograph at a previous meeting here And it looked like it was taken from the top of the Dr. Lau's building.
Okay,
And so it was going in that direction, and it showed those two, I think it was all one structure originally.
okay.
And it's the other thing about the orientation on that one, because it was like there were some things that didn't look quite right, but anyway, when you look at it in that photo, I had never seen that photo before, and so I don't know where you got it, but
I'll have to look in my archive because I've seen so.
I think
many
that was in
over
the Ball
past
State
month. I don't
Archives.
know which one it is.
I know which one you're talking about. That was in the Ball State Archives, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
it was a good photo of the building from a distance,
Mhm.
and it was very clear.
Is that where it had the awning
Mhm,
coming out?
mhm.
Okay, I think I remember that one.
You can see the actual Easy Bake Flour. Yeah.
So right now, we're just looking at the east side.
You're already approved, so.
You know what party, don't you?
Yeah. That's where the real fun happens.
So we're just looking at the east side right now. We're not looking at the front facade, correct?
No, we're looking at all of it.
All of it, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So what, okay.
So the ask for the COA is removing the lower portion and put it of the east side below where the band board is on the front. Originally, there's no band board on the side right now.
Mhm.
And putting in that new footer and exterior wall, all the new windows, the door on the front. I think there's a door on the side as well for people to go in and out of that area. Repair the wood siding, square off the roof as much as possible with the salvageable wood from where those large windows are going. And then retain and repair the sign, the mural signage. So that's the ask. So I think that maybe if we just want to go through like the front of the building, I think fits very well as far as historically what it's supposed to look like.
But on the, when you have the frame part that I'm looking at, it looks like there was transoms across the top.
It does, but I can't seem to find evidence of those really anywhere. The Hayden's picture, there's a transom above the front door, and that's kind of the only thing I can find. So I don't know if those were put in at some point. I don't think they could very well be transoms just like above the stable. But there's no photographs of it. I had brought that up with John earlier, and he sent me 2 of these pictures, and he said, the only thing I can see is above the front door. So that's what he's got in his rendering here.
If you look here, next to the stable, it's just a large window.
Right.
There's nothing up
And
there.
that supports
Yeah.
it right there too. You can see it's just.
Right, now again, I don't know when this next picture was taken, it's probably 100 years ago, so that could have been later, could have been
Mhm.
earlier than that, not really sure.
All I know is these guys are rocking their beards here.
I would be interested to know when this picture was
If
taken.
you look at the
Yeah.
cars, well, not that picture.
Yeah, this one.
I gotcha. There you go. You're welcome.
That's really early. It's gotta be in the teens.
So the east side, as far as like staff analysis, I think this fits pretty well as far as utilizing the original materials, the original sizes of windows, using the beadboard. The front facade is definitely accurate. I know there's a lot of extra windows here, but that's kind of what I would deem like a dead side, especially because over the years, this atrocity has happened. So I mean, in theory, you could rip out all the windows and doors that were placed there hastily a long time ago and re-put the wood in, like in the Hayden's, the original Hayden's picture here. You can see it's mostly just wood. But as far as use, I mean, it might just be a little bit better to open that up a bit. But that's of course up to you guys. But I feel it's retaining quite a bit of its original look. Sandy, I don't know, is this one on the register? It is, okay.
So how are you feeling about the side of the building? Because the front of the building, I mean, it still looks like
It's
it's gonna.
pretty much the same.
Pretty much keeping it down.
I think the front looks good. I think the side, it's from the side, there is a road over there. I mean, you know, if you take it all the way back to the original, it's not gonna work. There's about 2 windows somewhere, you gotta have some windows. So those windows mimic what's gonna be on the front, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and they match, at least historically wise, what the windows are supposed to look like. Um, And yeah, to that point, I mean, the bottom is pretty much below that beadboard that runs around the front, it's pretty trashed under there. It's not really salvageable.
And how many windows on the side? On the east
Looks
side?
like,
Is that how many is actually gonna put in?
do you know if this is to scale? Okay, so 3 or 7. Is one of those a door though?
I believe it was.
Probably the one at the very end there, I think is a door. It looks a little narrower, but- Or it's in
And
the
that's a
middle.
wood trim around all the windows.
Actually, I think it's 3 windows.
And a doorway.
And then a doorway with a window above a doorway, and then 3 windows on either side of it
Mhm.
to capture that doorway.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the lamps there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which either way would
Carriage
probably
doors.
be fine.
Like,
It's just not a full window.
mhm.
Well, I'm glad he's using the original wood. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be, and I told him this earlier, that if there was, because there are a few pieces that I mean, even I noticed on the building that are hanging off and warped. If those need to be replaced, they'll just be with like material. So I think I might have put that in my recommendation, that if there's any that are beyond saving, using that, it's a tongue and groove style, just repairing it with the same or similar material.
Start trying to save wood, sometimes that's very difficult.
I bet.
So perhaps if he was able to salvage enough wood off the side and do the front.
And that's what he was thinking, to square it off would be to use any of that wood below the Easy Bake sign that you'd be removing to put in those big windows. To put those up to square the roof off. And then, obviously, most of that is pretty short, but anything that can be used will be used.
I would think that if he can get enough to do the street side, he'd be doing real well.
Yeah. The street side, the front it's not in terrible shape. I think he'll be able to just kind of replace a few boards.
I have a question about the mansard style stuff that was done,
Mhm.
evening. When was that done? Do we know?
Well, I'm gonna go with the 70s when it was purchased by the dry cleaner, because before it was purchased, it was a restaurant, the big 4
When was the
lunchroom.
pharmacy? Was that after the dry cleaner?
Before.
Before.
Wasn't it before?
No, it was Axel's dry cleaning
Yes.
and Eloise Pig was the proprietor of that. And
So it was the pharmacy after the dry cleaner.
yes.
Okay. So the dry cleaner put the mansard on and put in all these inaccurate windows and doors inside.
Right, so with the date on that was possibly the 70s.
77.
No, okay, because the reason I'm asking is because that was one of the stipulations with the gallery was it was over 60 years old, so it was historic, the fact that it was a mid-modern building. When
Oh,
that was,
yeah.
when that facade was put on there, so.
It was
Yeah.
also, the consultant that made the recommendations went to the highest, use period.
Right.
So that was its most active.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. All right, so
So what are the thoughts on him squaring off the roof? Is that, because I think we're all pretty much on the same page for most of this, but that's one thing I want to make sure.
I don't see a problem with squaring them
I,
together at all.
yeah, neither.
So I think as far as a vote on this, it'll be as written, as requested.
So we have a motion,
I'll make a motion to accept it as written.
Second,
all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
You're
We're
so good
done.
at that, George. All right, last one.
You're doing my sleep now.
So John's other building, the AB Taylor building, he'd like to put some awnings over the two doors that are going on here. He sent me some examples, just kind of a standard metal awning that's anchored. And it'll go, I believe there, where you see the wood paneling is where his two doors are gonna go. So, and this is really the only historic photo I have of this is when it was the Falls City Motor Company, and it did have an awning. It's very hard to see, but it's there. It's fabric though, as far as I can tell, but no more fabric. So
What's the modern though?
is there anything awning wise that could be a little bit, better than maybe this modern look? I think you said something about how putting it over the doors are tempered glass, microfiber, something, I don't know. To where he doesn't want them to be exposed as much to the elements.
I'm okay with an awning, it's just that looks awful modern to me. I'd like something maybe someone like the original. As close as possible to the original, which was a canopy. It was fabric.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely take that back.
And it would be over the two doors, just the two doors.
Yeah, approximately 14 feet wide, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
The building looks great though.
Oh, it looks awesome.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, it's looking wonderful.
Are you talking canvas versus metal?
Well, I don't mind the metal, but doesn't that look all big but big?
The squared edges versus the 45.
Is it canvas?
Yeah.
It is a canvas, but
I mean, original,
better
Old
than old canvas.
old canopies are canvas, yeah.
There's a tremendous amount of fabric out there now. And some of the awning fabric is designed to last 5 years, and then it's designed to last 20 years and longer. And
Okay.
so you get what you pay for there.
Yeah.
And I've heard there's some fabrics that think will be lasting 100%.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of fabric that's used from marine purposes underwater.
Mhm.
And I know that that's
Yeah.
a friend of mine has
Doesn't know
some of
your-
that.
And especially since this isn't inset into the building,
Well,
having
all this
something
all
to
over the
protect
place.
not only your front door, but around it.
Right.
So,
There's an awful lot of awning schemes out there that might look a little bit better than that.
okay. I can take that back if you want to continue and see if we can get some different ideas. If you have, Bob, if you have any ideas like that, you can just send them to my email and I can get those over to John.
I'll keep my eyes open when I'm driving around.
That works too.
I have a thought right now. Let me go.
Is it of any concern how it attaches to the brick? I know there are,
Well,
the photo shows these anchors somehow above the metal awning. I can't imagine that would be nice thing for the brick.
I think there were some, if I'm not mistaken, there's some anchors here already
You know, there
from
is-
the old awning. Those that are kind of like right above the top black part there. They're like little
Oh, okay.
anchor spaces.
Yeah, okay.
When those anchors go inside the mortar.
There's
building
4 of
stuff,
them. Okay. Yeah. So they have, I'm assuming he would just reutilize those to hang. Okay.
This building is a wonderful example of preservation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's
It's
very
just like
nice.
great.
What did you have?
Yeah, it looks very much like the original.
So what is the plan for the second floor?
I believe there are some apartments.
Awesome. Great.
Did you get to see it when it had what appeared to be 1940 apartments?
No.
Not
Some
quite.
photos.
There's a
not quite
clawfoot
finished.
bathtub up there still, isn't there?
No.
No? When I went up there last year, there was one sitting up there, but I think it was in the other building.
If anybody wants a call, I have 3 of them. and I Can't wait to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
They're heavy.
You whoever,
So is this something we want to continue to next
Yeah.
month and or that possible special meeting, we can put this on the
Yes.
agenda there
Oh,
too. if
yeah.
we
Yeah,
decide at
exactly.
that
That'd
point.
be fine.
Same deal.
So motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue this one.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Good.
All right, last thing I've got for you is some staff approved COAs since our last meeting. The building next door behind us, Joanne called me one day and said that one of the windows had broken out. And so she needed to replace them immediately for her tenant's safety upstairs. They do have original wood windows that she is going to replace. I gave her 1 year of a temporary COA. So they are 3 vinyl windows right now. And they will be traded back out for the wood when she can get those. I can't quite remember what they were. I think one was 3/3 and one might have been 6/6. They weren't consistent. They were, each of them was different.
No.
So.
They were old windows.
Yeah.
On that particular building, the street side, is the side that used to sit
Right
right
here.
next door here.
Yeah.
And that is it's called an 1840 brick revival storefront.
Mhm.
And the upper windows, many of those are difficult to see through in sections because they have such waves and bullseyes, and
I imagine.
it was the best glass they could get at that time.
Right. For sure. So.
And so historically, that's something that contractors should do its best to preserve those windows.
Right, and I know that she has the windows, she took them out and she said that they're being stored.
Yeah.
But as far as just for tenant safety, I want to say it was that back window, something fell out of it. I mean, I'm in that alley all the time, so. This was kind of an emergency situation. The other one is the invited brunch and blessings over there on the corner. They installed a new post sign. They are going to do landscaping in the spring when the ground is not frozen. But that is their new sign. So I don't have anything else. Are there any other concerns, questions, anything? If anyone has any feedback from the 2 that we continued, if they have any ideas, feel free to send those to me. If I get feedback from our 2 continued agenda items, I will see when we could possibly coordinate a special meeting if it's necessary. They're ready to go.
Should we look at a possible date for that right now, since they say they have that in a week?
I wouldn't look at it quite yet.
But one quick thing for John's, for the Hayden building, I was walking through the other day. The back door on the east side, the 2 lower doors swinging. And I thought, well, there's workers in there, but I don't think there was anybody in there. So it was wide open.
Oh, the 2 double doors right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard it.
I didn't have a number for John to call him and say, hey, come lock the door, but,
Yeah, the lock was not functioning.
okay, cool.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? All right, so we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? I get to use the gavel. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now I gotta figure out how to end this.
Hey, if we don't have a special meeting, happy holidays.
Oh, absolutely.